It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today we're talking about the Washington football team as we prepare for the 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits, some reasons for optimism, as well as some causes for concern, in addition to our positional breakdowns on both sides of the ball. But first, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. Washington is coming off of an NFC East title and playoff berth in head coach Ron Rivera's first season. What makes those accomplishments even more impressive is when you consider all of what 2020 was as a year in conjunction with the ups and downs of their season, him going through his cancer diagnosis. To be able to galvanize as a team and get to the postseason deserves a ton of praise. The challenge then becomes building on that foundation and making sure that it wasn't just a one-time thing. However, getting there with this particular group and the mental toughness that they showed last season leads me to believe that the postseason play won't be a rare occurrence. In order for that return trip to the playoffs to happen, Washington will have to once again figure out its quarterback situation. They signed Ryan Fitzpatrick in the offseason as a 17-year vet is coming off of a solid year with the Miami Dolphins. He will be expected to compete with both Kyle Allen and Taylor Heineke for that starting job, both of which started games for them last year. Putting your hopes in a 17-year, ridiculously streaky quarterback is a fooled errand in my opinion, but we'll see if that is the case or if Heineke, who flashed in their playoff game against the Bucs, can recapture that magic and beat out the wily vet. There was some moving and shaking up front along the offensive line. The team released longtime tackle Morgan Moses and Jerron Christian this offseason and added both Charles Leno Jr. from the Bears and Eric Flowers, who returns from Washington after spending a season down in Miami, added those two guys in free agency. Veteran Cornelius Lucas is in line to start at right tackle right now after playing some solid ball in his 8 starts last season, but the team drafted Samuel Cosme out of Texas in the second round of this year's draft and hope that he can impress enough to push for a starting role, and they expect a second-year jump from last year's 4th-round pick Sadiq Charles. While the interior offensive line looks strong, training camp will begin to sort out the edges. Second-year running back Antonio Gibson had an impressive start to his young career. Last season, he hit pay dirt 11 times, rushing for nearly 800 yards, and he started to figure things out as the season went on, which gives the staff hope that he is primed for a breakout season in 2021. If he is able to do so, that'll go a long way in helping ease the pressure off a quarterback situation that's very uncertain right now. A strong run game coupled with a strong defense is still a winning recipe in football no matter what level you play. Gibson averaged 12 rushing attempts a game last year, and I would expect to see that number get to about 20 to 23 this upcoming season. Ryan Fitzpatrick's 2020 season was yet another encapsulation of what his 17-year NFL career has been for him. He played okay to start the season for Miami, got benched for the first-round pick Tua Tagovailoa, got reinserted back into the lineup in crucial times, and came through for Miami and had them on the brink of a playoff berth last year before giving way to Tua once again. The 38-year-old quarterback is about as streaky as they come, and it's easy to fall in love with the highs of his game, but the lows end up sinking you at the worst possible time. He's 59, 86, and 1 as a starting quarterback and hasn't had sustained success yet in his career. So him entering the season potentially as a starter, to me, is a red flag. Unless Taylor Heineke, who provided a spark after being inserted into the game against Carolina and flashed some potential during the playoff game last year, can show that last season was no fluke and he's the guy for the job. The 27-year-old will have to also compete with Kyle Allen, who went 1-3 in his starts last year. And this is the biggest question mark or concern on offense to me, and one that will need to be answered pretty quickly. There is a lot to like about Antonio Gibson. He's strong, he's got good speed, and has a nose for the end zone. Where he has room to grow his game is just understanding the running game a little bit more. And at times last year, you saw it start to come together for him. And if he can take that next step and be a consistent down-to-down guy, then they'll be good to go. If not, he'll end up proving just to be a solid complementary back and they'll need someone to step up and help assist with that workload. Now, they got some capable play last year from both Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick, both of whom will jockey for that role. Veteran Lamar Miller, who really hasn't played much in 2 seasons, but back in 2018 with the Houston Texans, ran for over 970 yards, earning his first Pro Bowl appearance as well. The combination of Miller and Gibson to me is enticing. I would also keep an eye out for undrafted rookie free agent Jaret Patterson out of Buffalo to make enough plays in training camp and in the preseason to warrant an opportunity as well. Out on the perimeter is where a lot of excitement is this season for Washington. In free agency, they signed Curtis Samuel from the Panthers, who's coming off of his best season as a pro, and one in which the Panthers took full advantage of his versatile skill set, using him in the backfield at times. Now, perhaps we could see that in Washington, but either way, he helps elevate or alleviate some of the pressure off third-year player Terry McLaurin, who has been their big play threat since he got to the nation's capital. He went over 1,100 yards last year, cracking that 1,000-yard barrier for the first time in his career, and hopes to make that a common thing for the foreseeable future. Figuring out number 3 will also be exciting as they get back Kelvin Harmon from injury, and he'll be competing with rookie third-round pick Dyami Brown out of North Carolina, who is a bona fide deep threat. And we'll see if second-year player Antonio Gandy-Golden, who has had his ups and downs last season as he dealt with COVID, injury, and inconsistent play that you expect from a rookie, but he's their biggest wideout and still has upside left in his game. I'm also a big fan of 7th-round pick Dax Milne out of BYU, who has a knack for getting open and has strong hands. Free agent signee Adam Humphries, after being a strong option in Tampa, is coming off of 2 nondescript years in Tennessee and hopes to regain that pre-Titans form. Cam Sims and Steven Sims Jr., along with Isaiah Wright, have all flashed at times, but will have a battle on their hands to put a stranglehold on their spot. Tight end seems to be a bit more stable with Logan Thomas, who grew as a player last year and as a viable option in their passing game. John Bates out of Boise State was drafted in the 4th round to compete for time at their tight end 2 spot, giving them yet another inline presence to help bolster their run game as well. We spoke earlier about the offensive line shuffling that's happening at tackle, and if they get the expected growth from Sadiq Charles and Samuel Cosmi shows up ready to play right away, then their questions would be answered. Now, Leno was a Pro Bowler at one point in his career and is looking to get back to that this season, with Eric Flowers, Chase Roullier, and Brandon Sheriff returning and helping bolster the run game, and the interior pass protection should be solid again this year. Wes Schweitzer and Tyler Lawson give them strong depth on the inside. This is where Washington is the best in the NFC East, the NFC, and arguably in the NFL. The defensive line with second-year player Chase Young, who was Defensive Rookie of the Year and a Pro Bowler, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Montez Sweat, who led the team in sacks last year with 9, are a ridiculous quartet of former first-round picks. I would expect both Chase Young and also Montez Sweat to have double-digit sacks this season. The depth here is equally as strong on the inside with Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle. Both are really good football players. Now, losing Ryan Kerrigan will put the focus on reserves like second-year player James Smith-Williams and rookies William Bradley King and Shaka Toney out of Penn State to be that third rusher off the edge. First-round pick Jamin Davis out of Kentucky was selected because of his range, his athleticism, and his athletic ability in pass coverage. With all due respect to both Cole Holcomb and John Bostic, Davis is the best coverage backer already within his positional group. Versus the run, however, he's still a work in progress, but with both Bostic, who led the team in tackles last year with 118, and Holcomb, who finished second here with 88, they're more than apt to handle that specific duty. The depth is a bit thin here, which is why the team went out and signed free agent David Mayo from the Giants, and it'll be interesting to see what progress Khaleke Hudson can make in year 2, as he has good athleticism and the versatility to play multiple backer spots. Washington's secondary was impressive last year, thanks in part to a terrific pass rush, but from a coverage aspect, I thought they did really well. Kendall Fuller and Jimmy Moreland, the People's Corner, are back as starters. Fuller was exactly what they needed on the outside, and Moreland made some strides as a player, flashing more with big plays throughout the season, and he'll be looking to flatline that consistency this upcoming year. Now, in free agency, they brought in William Jackson III to be the starter opposite of Fuller on the outside. Jackson was arguably Cincinnati's best corner and will give Washington another strong coverman out there on the perimeter. And I'm excited about rookie third-round pick Benjamin St-Juste out of Minnesota, who has a long, lengthy frame and athleticism to match up with receivers. Danny Johnson and Greg Stroman will vie for minutes in that secondary in addition to their special teams duties. Now, safety looks to be as strong as well with the addition of Bobby McCain, who was a starter and captain last year with the Dolphins, and he'll provide a stable third safety with Landon Collins and Cameron Curl, who is coming off of a solid rookie season, one that saw him end up starting 10 games. Collins is looking to bounce back from injury and get back to his Pro Bowl playing ways when he was with the Giants. But keep an eye out for Derek Forrest, the 5th-round pick out of Cincinnati, who looks to be this year's version of Cameron Curl. Forrest can flat out play and will factor into this mix, as well as Jeremy Reeves, who will help tighten up the depth on the back end. One of the reasons for optimism for the Washington football team is that they made the playoffs last year, and considering all that went on, that's a tremendous feat. So a more stable situation should help them build on that this upcoming year. And the defensive line is elite. We talked about the front end starters. They're strong with their depth. This defensive line can not only cause problems, but they can also create points for the Washington football team. And they have good young talent that's improving. Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, we talked about, the young receivers that they're bringing in, along with the offensive line. There's a lot of young talent on both sides of the ball that's just getting better and gives you a lot of optimism. A cause for concern would be if the quarterback situation, which is questionable at best, doesn't shake itself out. You're talking about a depth chart that has Ryan Fitzpatrick, Kyle Allen, Steven Montez, and Taylor Heineke. Not exactly world beater type names, but guys that just haven't shown that level of consistency within their game. So if they can't get that to flatline throughout the season, throughout that 17-game season, it could be an issue for Washington in 2021. Now let's take a look at some training camp quick hits. We'll start with our camp surprises on both sides of the ball offensively. Look for Dax Milne to surprise, the rookie 7th-round pick out of BYU. He was the #1 receiver for Zach Wilson and caught a lot of passes from Wilson, a lot of contested catches, some big plays above the rim. I think he's going to surprise and work himself up the depth chart. Chris Miller, the safety, I was a big fan of coming out of Baylor. He is fast, he is explosive, he's a upon contact, impactful tackler. The only issue has been his health. He has to find a way to stay healthy, but if he's out there for a full training camp, look for him to surprise and again, work himself into the mix as well. Rookie impact players, obviously you look at the wide receiver Diami Brown, outstanding deep threat, does a great job of tracking and sacking going down the field, should be another big playmaker in the passing game. And Jamin Davis was #1 defensive selection for them in their first round, with their first round pick, and he's going to be a starter day one and helps them immediately in coverage. So I think he'll have the rookie impact on the defensive side of the ball. The biggest X factor, to be completely honest, we've been talking about him all show, is Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he can finally play in his 17th season a consistent year of football and get this team to the playoffs, then it will be a job well done and a move well made by Washington defensively. Landon Collins has to start playing back up to the Pro Bowl type caliber that we saw from him earlier in his career. He has to get back to that to really help this defense take another step forward in 2021. Looking at a breakout player, I think Sadiq Charles will have a breakout season this year. This guy was about to get his first opportunity to play and got injured and had those ups and downs last year. You could chalk it up to 2020, but I do think he'll be bouncing back healthier and be able to show the talent that made him a 4th-round pick. And Cameron Curl will take the next step forward in his progression. He played really well last year, so look for him to push for Pro Bowl honors in year 2. The road to the Super Bowl for Washington goes as follows. #1, the defense has to continue to dominate. That'll give them a chance to win each and every game. And if the offensive tackle situation stabilizes, whether it's Charles Leno, Cornelius Lucas, Samuel Cosmi, Sadiq Charles, whoever ends up being the starting 2 tackles, if they can stabilize and join forces with that strong interior guard center guard combination, then they'll dominate on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And the quarterback play has to become an asset and not a liability. That goes without saying. If they can get stable quarterback play with both sides of the line of scrimmage expected to do really well, then this team can not only get into the playoffs, but they can march all the way to Los Angeles for the Super Bowl. I have Washington finishing 4th in the NFC East, just not trusting the quarterback situation enough to put them ahead of the Giants or the Cowboys or the Eagles. But defensively, and I think with an improved offensive line, they'll be competitive within every game, but we'll more than likely see a season like we saw last year, just minus the playoffs. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.